Tales of Zestiria is a game which leaves many questions unanswered, creating a sense of mystery and interest in the audience. Of these questions, several have answers which are widely accepted, whereas others have become highly debated, especially since the release of Tales of Berseria, which added critical information into the world's lore which affected the audience's theories heavily. However, not all questions could be answered by the prequel game, and one question in particular remains a mystery. What are the true origins of Zestiria's fire seraph Lailah? Before Berseria's release, the question may have seemed impossible to answer, with Lailah herself not remembering her earlier days as a seraph and seeming reluctant or unable to divulge any details thereupon. There simply was not enough information to form a coherent argument with. In Berseria, though, the audience found many possibilities in a world which existed 1000 years before the Age of Chaos in which we meet Lailah. Whether it be theories of reincarnation from a human to a Malak and then into a seraph, or ideas of her being descended from more legendary Seraphim mentioned in Berseria's buried lore, theories sprung up about Lailah's past like the silver flame in the Fire Temple sconces. However, I would like to argue that the true origin of Lailah is a theory which has never been debated before now, but which carries more weight in the world than any other theory holds. From what we know of Lailah's past, she spent many a year working under the influence of the Prime Lord and Empyrean Mautelis, guiding shepherds on their quest to purify the malevolence of the world. At another unspecified point in time, she is also known to have gone on a more personal journey, accompanied only by 49 Normin companions, to whom she declined the chance to be sublords. That of course implies that her journey with the Normin occurred between the times of the two separate shepherds. However, the nature of that journey still remains unclear. After all, why on earth should Lailah need to travel with quite so many companions, and especially those of the Normin disposition? The answer lies in the status of Normankind as a whole. Normin are a rather underappreciated group of Seraphim who are also known as common spirits, a name which they find upsetting and perhaps even derogatory. They excel in improving the powers of humans and other Seraphim by utilising their own personal skills. For example, the Normin attack improves the efficiency of physical attacks, the Normin aqua increases water attack damage, and the Normin brave, well, we're not sure exactly what he contributes to the world, but in any case, I digress. Since Normin provide a largely supportive role in the world as well as in combat, they are not often called upon for their skills, and they prefer to keep to themselves on their personal island. Even when the Shepherd Artorius utilises Illuminat's domain to enslave all Seraphim, then known as Malakim, the Normin are unaffected by it. Even the 5th Empyrean, enslaver of all magical creatures, overlooks the existence of the humble Normin. That being said, Normin are a hardy bunch. Take for example the Normin Brave, more commonly referred to as Bienfu. Somehow, despite being brutally abused by the company he keeps and providing questionable amounts of help to them in return, he manages to survive the events of Berseria. Though we are unsure if he survives the 1000 years between Berseria and Zestiria, we know that Normin's attack did, since they appear in both games. As such, it is easy to see that they have the capability of surviving much adversity, even if their brethren fall more easily to the influences of divine domains and demons. Of course, Normin are not infallible. Though we have not witnessed one become a full dragon, the Normin attack did become a Hellion due to his own rage and the malevolence surrounding him at the time. Thus we can deduce that Normin are powerful but still fall prey to the threats of the world around them. How does this relate to Lailah, you ask? Lailah is on the whole secretive about most things, but one topic of which she utterly refuses to speak is that of the Normin. Despite her deep knowledge of equipment fusion, something which relates intrinsically to the skills of the Normin, or the fact that it has nothing to do with her oath to Mautelis, she refuses to speak about Normin at all. Even when Edna tries to engage her in polite conversation about their hunt for Normin, Lailah does not speak to her. An unenlightened person, as I once was, might argue that her reluctance to speak about it is a social cue. Perhaps something happened which she feels awkward about and would not want the others to know. Her refusal to speak with Edna might only be a reluctance to get involved with the Normin collecting mania which Edna easily falls into, one which mirrors the Nordal collecting mania of her brother 1000 years earlier, which ended in the transference of a certain Normin to Edna's possession. However, I believe I know the truth, and it must be shared, for the state of the world of Berseria and Zestiria changes massively once this is taken into consideration. The truth is this: Lailah is actually just 5 Normins stacked on top of each other. The cynics amongst you may already have turned away from your monitors, but the truth must be told. The Seraph Lailah as we know her does not exist. She is the fabrication of a group union of Normin who feared that their kind might forever be underestimated and endangered by the humans and other Seraphim in the world. Utilising illusory magic, they took on the form of a young female seraph and travelled with 49 of their Normin brethren until the time came when they were sure they had the strength and skills necessary to integrate into the world without worry. You may laugh, but everything adds up. Lailah's knowledge of equipment fusion, her reluctance to speak about her travels with the Normin despite her friendly rapport with them, and even her seeming lack of knowledge of her own origins. It is only her connections with the Normin which make it easier for Sorey and his party to assign her fellow Normin to the individual lords of the land. Well, that as well as Edna's mania for collecting the Normin. But I would like to argue that Lailah's teaching to Edna of the fusion skill might be indicative of her sharing with her the true nature of her form. Edna is savvy enough to have figured it out for herself after all, since she has lived with a Normin for a millennia by now. That being said, the 5 Normin who make up Lailah still have many perils to face in the world, and they face a task of creating a better world for Normin. I believe that they work undercover with the Normin in Edna's possession, Phoenix, the strongest Normin of all Normin. That is why Lailah suggested Edna as the Earth Seraph, who they would take with them on their journey, so she could report directly to her leader in her quest to spread the word of the Phoenix. After all, there is only one thing which could possibly battle a world filled with not only malevolence, but also humans and Seraphim who underestimate the Normin. That thing is a new society, where Normin are appreciated for their true values. It is only by banding together with Phoenix that they could possibly create it. A hegemony of the Normin, by the Normin, for the Normin!